Hello and welcome to the ET Telecom webinar. Today we have Mr. Ravi Shankar, Head Product Management at STL, Mr. Shantu Bakulkarni, Network Software at STL, Mr. Tilamos Koloris, Vice President Europe and CIS at STL, to discuss the marketplace model, a digital economic catalyst for CSPs, and how the role of technology, process, and people are playing an important part in the overall scenario. So now over to Mr. Shankar.
So I think you have already introduced us. So over to you,
I guess we can move ahead. So a very warm welcome from our side. We are indeed very excited to welcome you today in this webinar. On behalf of STL, I would like to thank you for joining us, and I hope you find this webinar useful. A few words about STL and its long way path of 32 years of existence. So STL is it's an abbreviation for Satellite Limited Technologies, and it has been a company that was formed in 1998, and it is a digital technology company with offices in India, in China, in Europe, in the US, Southeast Asia, and Middle East and Africa. It is listed in the Bombay Stock Exchange and in the National Stock Exchange of India. Right now, STL has 358 patents, and it's active in over 150 countries worldwide. So we can easily claim ourselves as a global company. And the company is specialized in fiber optical fiber and cables, hyperscale network design and deployment. It has a strong presence with next generation optical preform. It has fiber and cable manufacturing facilities in India, in Italy, in Europe, in China and Brazil, as well as 2 global software development centers. Since 2015, STL has entered into the network software space, where after the acquisition of EliteCore, a software company recognized by analysts like Analysys Mason and Gartner, it offers bespoke integrated solutions for global data networks of CSPs, Telcos, as well as over-the-top players. STL also partnered with global telecom companies, cloud companies, citizen networks, and large enterprises to design, build, and manage such cloud native software-defined networks. This year, we are celebrating 25 years of optical fiber, and this is a perfect timing for us because STL has been recognized as the first optical fiber cable plant in India to receive zero waste to landfill certification. So we are very proud about this. And last but not least, STL has won several awards in this competitive industry, something that makes us all proud to work for STL and offer the solutions to our customers. So probably we can go to the next slide, please. So before we proceed, I would like to give you a highlight of the agenda. We will discuss about the enterprise market and the industry's trends. Then we were going to discuss about the challenges and the opportunities that this market may have, and some recommendations from STL side. And we're going to leave a 10-15 minute window for Q&A, which we truly hope of your active participation. But before we proceed into the first part of our webinar, we would like to know better about you, about about our audience. So please tell us more based on this poll. Can we run the first poll? So you see it probably in your screens.
Tell us about this is poll. Tell us about yourself. So basically, we have 5 options. Tell us about the industry you are in. So we have service provider, hardware, software vendor, system integrator, consultancy, or others. So we have very interesting responses. So we have 29% from polls for service provider, 32 from hardware and software vendor, 9 from as a system integrator, 11% for consultancy, and others 20.
Thank you. So since that we have a great mix of professionals today, very happy to see this mix, very interesting. So we truly hope that at the end of this webinar, we're going to have an interesting Q&A session as well. So let us just get started. So in the past decade, or even more, the enterprise market was driven based on particular enterprise needs. These needs could be, would be, providing a fixed or mobile telephony plan for the company, plus probably a list line, a contact center, managed services many times, etc. The example that we see in this slide should be well known to most of you who are engaged in this domain. For instance, we can take this example of this fast-moving consumer goods company would have the need for interconnect network, to connect the headquarters with the regional offices across the world. Would probably have the need of a mobility plan, probably to run a call center, a data center, and so on and so forth. And in order to achieve this, they would have to team up with a B2B department or wholesale department of a telecom operator, as well as with various partners in order to fulfill and deliver the requirements and the mentioned needs. If we go to the next slide, then Ravi, thanks. However, the enterprise market has been evolving over the past years, and what we all observe during this ongoing transformation is that there is an evolution in place from connectivity-based to partnership-based approach. It's very easy to observe. This is also it is easy to observe also in the surveys that we read in the past months. Telemanagement Forum had a survey recently where they said that 46% of the CSPs are deriving just less than 10% of the revenue from B2B services today. However, in the medium and long term, 70% of these CSPs are expecting to generate more than 50% of their revenues from B2B services. So there is a tremendous shift based on many parameters and reasons that we will discuss later. And this is obviously a no-brainer to say that this is because of the various technologies that we have and solutions that we have available in various industries right now, as well as the opportunities that the FTTX, the fiber optics, as well as the 5G are bringing in the medium term. Whether this is a simple use case of unified collaboration suite as a SaaS model, or whether this is a network as a service, a digital solution, or even an Internet of Things IoT platform. Moreover, we see the trends from many leading CSPs who are taking the strategic approach of introducing ICT services subsidiary as a separate company within their organization, or even transforming themselves into ICT services company. And of course, the offering is now wide, as there is plenty of available partners and provide this offering a variety of services, such as cloud hosting and software as a service solutions. And as I mentioned before, there are various new use cases to the markets to unlock the business potential, whether this is on the services domain, radio access network domain, multi-access edge, software or services domain itself. These new use cases for enterprises will be offered by several partners who are specializing on the applications domain, as the SaaS offering, for example, on the infrastructure domain as the IaaS, infrastructure as a service domain, or even integration or APIs. And all these technologies will be under the control of the telcos. So if we go to the next slide, please. And of course, it is well known to all of us that every enterprise, there is a segmentation of enterprises. So the needs for per segment varies and will continue, as every segment has obviously different needs. So for example, large enterprises may be looking for SD-WAN solution or for a network as a service, while a medium or small enterprises may be looking for something more in a package way, like a platformification way, like enterprise as a service. Or if we see on the private network, on the greenfield domain, if we have an NVNO, a greenfield NVNO, who is into the 4G, 5G space, or is becoming a digital service provider, there will be a need for even a private network as a service. There are indeed unused opportunities in the enterprise segment, as we know well. And first of all, the needs of specialization is driving the demand with various use cases. One of them being the connected car, for example, something that we have been discussing in the industry for quite some time already. We also know that this SaaS model, the everything or anything as a service model, are proven due to the benefits that they are enjoying in time to market, in scalability, and in other efficiencies. Moreover, the statistics are also showing that by 2025, anything as a service will increase more than 50%, which is a market estimated to grow to $400 billion, a gold mine, as Bain and company are referring to. Only the network as a service itself, it's as the booming of FTTX and 5G deployments will continue or even accelerated in the next years, it is expected that it will increase by 40%. And as the voice and data will continue bringing revenues to the CSPs, it would be fair to say that telcos need to prepare now in order not to miss this important growth opportunity, which will bring us to sustainable new revenue streams for the years to come. I think that we should now go to the next poll question that we have.
So the next question is, what are the challenges in setting up SaaS for enterprise customers? So here are the options. We have customer experience, partner management, generating monetization opportunities, and infrastructure agility. So audience has 45 seconds to answer this.
So Shantanu, what do you think? Which challenge do you believe that most of the participants will choose here?
I think people would choose probably partner management. This is what I think.
Yes, it makes sense. It makes sense for enterprise business, right? But I would say also customer experience, to be honest.
Yeah, could be.
Maybe I should take sides and now talk about technology, maybe. Yeah.
And by the way, we have close to 190 attendees watching live.
Awesome.
Oh no.
Yeah, we got it. So
that's what the audience can do, right?
Yeah. Customer experience, we got 24%, partner management 22%, generating monetization opportunities 32%, and infrastructure agility, we have 22% people opting for it.
So Shantanu, does this surprise you? If I had to ask you, does it surprise the data that you're getting from live audience? Yeah.
Actually, that is exactly the reason why we have this, get things validated, because you can completely go wrong. Between three of us, in the four options, we selected all the different options and what the audience selected. And that just, it validates the importance of validation in our industry. So great check there. And if Tilemaus, you would allow me, I could take the next section.
Absolutely.
So, and Tilemaus, it was great insight about the importance of enterprise. And I would say that, while the whole canvas of enterprise for the CSPs to get into and deliver in this is very, very exciting. And we know that the revenues are multifold as compared to consumer, and it's really an area to get into. However, that itself is a paradox. And I would say why is it paradox is because the very reason that the enterprise business is so expansive is because the requirements are actually, and the requirements or need are actually very wide. And what they want is they want a solution which is end to end and for their specific use case. For example, and the kind of vertical that one enterprise could be is very different than another vertical. For example, somebody who is in the vertical of agriculture can be completely different than somebody who is in energy. While agriculture would look at what is the predictive weather condition, what is going to be with the soil conditions and the drones to do the inspections, somebody who is in energy would be looking at what is a smart grid giving me the data. Is there a dynamic routing of electricity? Is there a smart metering somewhere, or some kind of data analytics on that? So while the horizontals might be same, there is a completely different verticals. Now, having said that, to get to a point where we are saying that there would be one CSP who can actually cater to the entire vertical uh, is practically impossible. So the only way that they can really do this is to get into some kind of partnership, some kind of collaboration with multiple vendors, in fact, including enterprise, getting into some kind of industry innovators, academia, third-party developers. I would say that they will have to get into even collaborating with their competitors just to ensure that they can give the entire infrastructure solution to that vertical, including a set of services. But all this, what I said, is much easier said than done because of, there are so many things that are happening in parallel. And to give that kind of right experience to the enterprise becomes a big challenge because, onboarding and self-management for the enterprise customer partners is not a trivial thing. It's a big thing because there are a lot of dimensions into that. Think about the complexity and diversity in the type of the order itself. When I talk about energy vertical, we are talking about routing of electricity to different places. We are talking about the data that comes from smart grid. We are talking about something which is coming from smart metering, doing kind of analytics. The order and everything is taking too long, and to be real, to a great extent they are all people dependent today. To a large extent, there are a lot of offline processes which goes on for months and months. You just take an interview of anybody who is in this enterprise domain and they can tell you horror stories about getting one order completed. And I will say that even though I guess the experience was something that audience would actually vote for, but they were absolutely right in saying that generating monetizing opportunities is a problem. While there is so much of money on the table, the real problem, and we know that we have a lot of service providers and hardware software vendors also, and they could relate to what I'm saying, is that many times the monetization opportunities are limited because of this underlying software. A lot of underlying legacy software that is going on in enterprise for a long time does not really allow them to really go further and launch the kind of pricing and business model they would like to have. Plus, in enterprise segment, the whole contract negotiation, the settlement between partners, and there is a lot of time taken and lack of transparency. And of course, the payment channel inefficiencies are always there. And third, which was Ravi was counting on, which I do believe is very important, especially in the times that we are in, where there is an exponential boom of the new technologies. We are talking about software-driven disaggregated products and networks. However, there is still really a lack of having a good orchestration between all those software products and having a complete stitch solution. And of course, there is, while the network and the cloud and all the elasticity has been talked about, but in terms of the solution from IT, it is still, I could say, chained because of the legacy. And when we are talking of X as a service, which is basically anything as a service, these all things become very, very important in the challenge. So having said all these challenges, what is answer? Ravi, if you could go to the next one. Yeah. So answer is very simple. It's a marketplace, right? Now, what is a marketplace? Marketplace is technology-driven business platform. This is what I would say, and it's more like what the word suggests. Marketplace. Marketplace is like a single place where there could be a seller, there could be a buyer. Now, in our technology world, we would say there is a platform which is hosted by the CSP, where there could be many sellers and there could be buyers. The sellers can be buyers and the buyers can be sellers, right? That's a true marketplace kind of thing that we are talking about. Now, what does marketplace really do? The point of marketplace is to ensure that all the challenges we spoke in the previous slide, it answers to, well, if not all, let's say most of the challenges should be addressed by technical business driven platform like marketplace. Now, something like, how can you have seamless partnership? How can you onboard partners earlier and faster? How can I have a smooth partner journey? How can you have the entire enterprise customer journey? How can you accelerate when somebody has an intent to purchase to actually purchase? How can you ensure that there is a lot of automation in the way the contracts and agreements are signed, how the quotations are being handled? Is there a business model for SaaS? Like, for example, we saw about energy metering needs data analytics. They need security. They need cloud services so that the data can be deployed and can be accessed anywhere. Can these be SaaS models? Can the digital payment and channels be really flexible so that there could be multiple partners and partners can work seamlessly from the payment perspective? In enterprise world, there is nothing called really real-time settlements, but we can go as close as possible and make it near real-time settlements. And the last one, which is very important, to have a platform which can really scale, which is agile enough, which is allowing that disaggregated cloud native. For example, we are talking about somebody wanting in the newer world enterprise connectivity. They want their own private networks. So can virtual RAN be deployed? Can that network layer be disaggregated with the software completely? Is something that a marketplace could really drive through. Next one, Ravi. Yeah, now when we talk about marketplace, what is there for the enterprise customer? We understood that, okay, there is a whole lot of things for the CSP, right? Why they should have a marketplace. But anything that you do has to have benefit for all the parties. So what is there for the enterprise customer? So one is for sure fast discoverability. At one place, it's like an interface where they can actually have all the things that they want to buy. For example, again, I'm coming back to the same example so that we can relate to it. The energy company, right? They want to have ensuring that there is data that can be collected from the smart grids, that data can be collected, can be massaged, can be stored, can be driven for insights. At the same time, they want to ensure that there could be charging based on different customers' usages. There could be dynamic routing on electricity circuits to different nodes. All these things can be provided by different vendors, and can those vendors put their products at one place, right? The enterprise can see what are the top selling products, what are the featured ones, what are the ones which from the partners they have worked in past. So that's the advantage of having discoverability. Of course, they get a dashboard which gives a complete 360-degree view at the same platform, and they can, of course, understand that I have purchased this, what happens after post-purchase, and so on and so forth. They get the differentiated customer experience. We talk about customer experience. It's very important because, as against consumer, the enterprise keep on coming to the system much more and many times, and the enterprise can have a lot of users. For example, somebody has a company with 200 employees, right? 200 employees are going to get connected to the system. Can there be a digital identity for these 200 people? Can they have a personalized experience for each of that person? If they are really high valued customer, can there be more additional benefits to be given to that enterprise customer, right? The enterprise customers are actually buying or offerings which are worth thousands of dollars. So they need to be ensured that if they have a drop link, if they cannot continue from some point, can they be actually helped by an assisted sales support so that they can go ahead? Maybe in some cases, the assisted sales support would say that, dear customer, we can complete the journey on behalf of you. So all these things, and of course, at the end, there has to be a very simplification of the entire process. How fast you can have the enterprise customer registered. How do you design the entire organization with different units, different hierarchies? If you remember when Tilemao said that a given enterprise, if we say example of McDonald's, it can have different offices across the cities. How do they work with each other? What is the hierarchy? What are the workflow approvals? And of course, milestone-based payments and so forth made everything simple. That's in what for enterprises customer. And while we saw there are benefits for the CSP, we saw there are benefits for the enterprise customer. The third pillar in this is the partner, because we spoke about that to ensure that the services and offerings are given to the end customers. There are lots of partners. The partners needs to have few things straightened out, that their onboarding to settlement has to be seamless and one platform. Today there are many systems. There are one system which does onboarding, there are some couple of systems which does settlement, and there is no assurance that happens between all these things. So marketplace comes with the concept of putting everything at one place. Of course, it will have open APIs for others to plug in their products. There could be dedicated focus on partner offerings. They can redirect or go to their own homepage for getting into details of those offering. They also get the 360-degree insights and dashboard similar to enterprise. They understand how is the performance of their different products, what is the customer reaction, what is the behavior towards some of the products. They can draw analytics, create dashboards, create reports, and have insights. They have this unified product catalog where they can bundle their products with the other telco products or some other partners and create something which is really wholesome for the enterprise customer. In fact, they can see that if the enterprise customer has 1, 2, 3 offers, the pricing of the fourth offer can be dynamically changed. So a lot of innovative services the partners can launch. Now, of course, they get the whole differentiated experience in terms of what kind of benefits the partners have within themselves. And the CSPs can have a strategic alliances with some specific partners to give them more benefits, and it increases the whole lot of innovative and creative way in terms of revenue generation. So these are the three main things. What is in there for the CSPs, the enterprises, and the partners. So it's a wholesome win-win platform. That's what I would say is the way to go for enterprises. That's an opportunity from my perspective. Yeah, let's go ahead, Ravi. The next question.
Yeah. So it's how likely it is independent software or hardware vendors to participate in CSPs hosted marketplaces for enterprises. So here we have a few options. It says already participating in a CSP marketplace, very likely, likely, unlikely, and don't know. I would repeat the question. How likely is it for independent software or hardware vendors to participate in CSPs hosted marketplaces for enterprises? And the options are already participating in a CSP marketplace, very likely, likely, unlikely, and don't know. So we have 45-50 seconds to answer this question.
So I believe the presentation was clear enough. And Ravi, what do you think? People would think that there would be partners who would like to be part of the CSP's marketplace, the digital mesh we are talking about.
Absolutely, Shantanu. I think I believe that they have a huge opportunity out there to partner with CSPs. CSPs are already there. They have reach, they have relationships. They're already providing light last mile access connectivity. They have been working with some of these partners as well. So I would be really surprised to see a different outcome, but let's not confuse the people, so I'll probably keep quiet. But yeah, I do see huge opportunity.
I'm very curious to see who was selected already participating. This is going to be very soon.
Here we go. Yeah, we have these many answers. So already participating in a CSP marketplace, 16% people say. Very likely 46%, likely 23%, unlikely 5%, and don't know 10%. So we have very likely is a strong indicator.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, this is a complete free validation, and it's always great to get validation from the industry. We at Sterlite, we work with with our customers, partners, with the industry bodies as well, TM Forum. I think it's really good to get some validation. So what I wanted to do in the next session, and thank you Shantanu and Telemahus, for kind of establishing why the network as a service, why X as a service is really the way enterprises are going to move, and there are a lot of benefits for multiple parties, for enterprise customers and partners, as well as marketplace providers. So what I'm going to do is going sharp into the recommendations that we believe from our perspective on having this marketplace platform, building this marketplace platform right. And the first and the foremost thing is getting the architecture right. When we talk about architecture, it's starting from the fact that now with a platform you have multiple partners talking to each other over APIs. You have journeys which are supported for different kind of enterprise customers. You have multi-sided platform, fundamentally partners, enterprise customers, and operators with a multi-sided platform setting, along with the model, something that we are seeing in the industry happening, which is about the partners, the vendors, they are actually hosting their applications on enterprise platforms. So that requires really a proper architecture. So architecture has to be right. Number two is use pricing innovation, and if the pricing innovation is not there, it would not create the incentives for all the parties. I mean, all the three parties in a multi-sided model have to win, as you were saying, Shantanu, win-win situation. And we're going to go deeper into all of these quickly as well. Digitizing the processes, I mean, starting from experience on one side, other very, very critical aspect is, whether the IT teams have the software which is built to go fast as well, right? DevOps based, CI/CD based, and this becomes more and more critical in a platform model where the multiple parties are coming and building the products together. And I would say that there's already a validation, but build partnership. I think finding those partners in the different segments and finding the right partners is also very, very important in the process. And because they also bring the nuances. I mean, if I talk about energy, Shantanu, you're talking about energy. Telemahus was talking about connected cars, we have been talking about for quite some time. But all these industries have their own nuances, and working with the partners, with the other vendors, really enables CSPs in establishing that platform and connection to the end enterprise customer very well. But last and not the least is also skill set, building the right skill set, right set of skills that allows the platform to be run, to give the right experience, and to be able to quickly test out the things that you want to launch into the market. So the first one, architecture, for a marketplace platform. I was talking about how the things of the partners, enterprise customers, and then we have a platform. It's more becoming a digital mess, because earlier we were seeing a kind of an aggregator model, where partners' products, vendors' products would be bundled by the telecom operators towards the enterprise customer. Now we're talking about vendors' products being hosted, running on the infrastructure as a service or a platform as a service, coming from a telecom operator, consuming some of the platform services, APIs, as well as consuming the APIs coming from the other peers, the other vendors and partners. So the API starts playing a much bigger critical role, and it's kind of shaping API as a product is what we call it, but it's kind of shaping up as a product as well. If we think from a product catalog perspective, a very, very critical component in a marketplace-driven platform, the catalog is where the power is, power of bundling, power of orchestrating, because fundamentally the network orchestration, the services orchestration is going to be driven through your catalog. So the catalog really has to do two critical parts. One is driving the orchestration downward, but also making sure that the journeys, the product, the offering, the pricing mechanisms are all supported to create incentives for all the parties in the process. And all of this in context with the analytics, which is also very important, because when we're talking about, Shantanu, how do we convert intent to a purchase? I think a platform that allows identification of intent through an event-driven architecture and enables the parties in the process to convert becomes very, very critical. So from an architecture perspective, if you're not getting the architecture right, I think fundamentally we believe it's not going to work for short, right? Second, in the process is, and sorry, quickly, I think one thing I also wanted to touch upon on this slide is how this platform enables a lot of use cases. So at the top, what you see is, vRAN as a service, cloud, management as a service, bare metal as a service. You're seeing CI/CD as a service, something which we had never heard of. And this is because partners are putting their products on the platform, which means that these need to be integrated, tested, and need to go in production seamlessly, right? Similarly, what we're seeing is a lot of products being built on top of platform, like telco apps, partner apps, cloud apps, all of this sitting on the platform as well. So the architecture really enables these capabilities, which become very relevant for the enterprise users and partners as well. Moving on to the next slide, I think pricing innovation. This is where we, from a monetization perspective, are very, very passionate about, because we believe that at the end of the day, it's all about money. If you're not enabling, helping, the customers and partners both make money in the process, then we're not doing justice. And very often what we have seen is that underlying the billing, the revenue management, the product catalog, the settlement, very often the same event is moving multiple times within the system to do what? To do a basically real-time settlement between different parties. And settlement based on multiple parameters, right? So we have known traditionally revenue share based on your volume, based on consumption. But now we're talking about looking at the customer lifetime value, looking at the partner lifetime value, looking at their journey. I mean, as a customer comes on a platform and they're going through the journey, how can where they are in the journey enables the platform provider to keep higher share from in their wallet. Looking at intent and being able to put a price around the intent, being able to look at where they are coming from. Are they coming from a web page? Are they directly coming to the page of a vendor's product? So understanding where they're coming from to be able to determine the price, the packaging, all of that becomes very, very important in this process. And an underlying platform, if it is enabling innovation around the pricing, this will become critical from a 5G perspective as well. Because with 5G, we're going to talk about a guaranteed bit rate, about quality of service, things which are going to be very critical for enterprise customers when they're setting up their private networks, when they're setting up their industrial IoT. The third important thing, is building partnership. And one thing we already got validation in the survey today, that many of the vendors and CSPs are already doing this. What the only point probably I would like to say here is, we as a fraternity, we are really good on the connectivity side, right? This is where we have been playing for a very long time. What we need to evolve towards becoming more collaborative, right? So when we're talking about partners having their products, their VNFs, the virtual network functions, their application infrastructure for ticketing as a service, CRM as a service, for these to happen, the platform provider, CSPs, collaborate with the partners by providing the APIs, by providing the infrastructure in the process. And in this whole process, also making sure that the platform objectives are always being met. And this is again about looking at both from a customer perspective and partner perspective. So we believe that when we're working with the partners, looking at taking advantage of their reach, taking advantage of the nuances that they can bring from their particular domain, combining that with the platform really becomes critical. And this is where telcos can play can decide on who to partner with to some degree as well. Digitizing processes. So I think even in the survey earlier, customer experience and partner experience more and more was coming up. What we believe through our work with our customers, our partners, that this is becoming more and more critical, right? If I give you an example of one of the tier 1 operators we were working with in India, in the journey of a customer, the friction was created. So the multiple stages of a journey, and there was a friction getting created in the process. And by looking at the friction, by analyzing the friction and removing that friction, the conversion rate could be improved by 40%, 43%. So when we're talking about a platform, and we're not talking about focusing on building the right UX and UI, looking at their using the design thinking principles to continuously check what's happening with the customer in their journey, what's happening with the partner in their journey, and enabling the teams behind the scene through a framework for A/B testing, by providing them, specific points where the customer or a partner is becomes very, very critical as well. One of the customers in Indonesia who launched, over 100 odd services for enterprise customer, it was very important for them to look at, how do they reduce the whole contract negotiation quotation processes altogether, because these were one of the biggest deterrent when it comes to working with the enterprise customer. A lot can be achieved by identifying where exactly the problem is and how much of it can be automated. So applying the UX driven thinking, applying DevOps methodology to iteratively quickly make changes and test them out becomes very important as well. And I think I would do complete injustice if I'm not talking about Skillset, because what we at Stellite have figured out, kind of, if I would say perfected, if you will, is really making sure that all of this happens with the customer, right? So we have come up with this, what we call 3P framework. So looking from platform to process to people. And why we do that is, if you have a platform, but if you don't have right processes, you're going to lose customers and partners both. If you have platform and processes, but you don't have people behind who can quickly check what's happening with the customers, who can check what's happening with the partners, who can actually do A/B testing, who can look at the positioning and the CMS, the content which is being delivered to the customer, and see where the friction is, where the problem is, which part of the journey can be short-circuited, because the intent of the end customer is very, very clear. If the intent is clear, why to make them go through multiple stages? You already have customer information. And in order to do that, the teams which are supporting the platform need to be powered. They need to be empowered with the skill set. They need to be able to run the digital platforms. They need to be able to work in a DevOps CI/CD framework. They need to be able to collaborate with their partners, be able to create an ecosystem where all of them can come together and create completely compelling offerings. Telemahos was already talking about, some of the completely disruptive offerings we are seeing in the market, starting from vRAN as a service, or SD-WAN becoming very, very number one use case, if I could say, from an enterprise or large enterprises perspective, is because of the power now that telcos have. In a software-defined network, now the IT team can decide what offerings they want to have. They can set a pricing to say, hey, whether you want something to be delivered super fast or take a longer cycle, and be able to price accordingly. And these levers have to be there in the product. These levers have to be there in the catalog. These levers have to be there in your billing system. So very important to empower the teams and also set up the processes in terms of iterative testing, fail faster, if I could say, or don't fail at all, but by quickly discovering where it is going wrong becomes very important. So these are the I would say, five most important, I would say, recommendations from our side. And why we are looking at this is also because we believe that telcos have a choice. If you look at where telcos have started from, by focusing on the providing communication connectivity products, we have already seen the wave of digitization to a large degree. So less on the enterprise customer side, a lot on the retail customer side, but digital service provider digitizing the processes. And then bringing operational efficiency has been something which has been, telcos have been focusing on. But I think what's emerging now is the whole two different topics. One is, they deciding whether they want to focus on just providing connectivity, kind of becoming a wholesale network provider. Kind of 5G also talks about network provider versus a service provider, and that kind of delineation may start happening, is what we believe. So some of the operators would choose to become wholesale, connectivity provider, while others would have choice either to become a lifestyle provider, which would be more towards retail customers, digital lifestyle provider, or become a platform provider, which is where they will be able to bring a completely new set of offering, bundled set of offering, create a multi-sided business model, be able to accelerate this whole digital journey for all the parties and create a win-win situation. So, and that is why we believe that this whole marketplace is a catalyst to that digital economy more than ever. I mean, the variations change based on retail or enterprise, but is a catalyst for the digital economy that we are living in. So with that, I think probably we would open up for questions from the audience. I don't know if it was going super fast or super slow, Santanu, but
Very
yeah.
good.
So,
Yeah,
so from here we will take questions from the audiences. More than happy to hear questions from the audiences.
so thanks, Shankar, for your insight. So we are getting a lot of questions from audience actually. So we are just putting a few due to lack of time. So here is the first question, and it says, "What I mean is there a change in telco mindset while going through the COVID pandemic times?"
Yeah.
Would you like to
So
answer?
may I take this question?
Sure, sure.
So yes, of course there is. I mean, I can tell you from my personal experience during the COVID lockdown, I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of CIOs, and not only in the European region, but also from Middle East and Africa, or even US. And I touched base again with them after 2 months. And what I discovered that this is not a period for them to run things as business as usual. No one else is doing that. Not even STL is doing that. But when it comes to the telcos itself, they have changed, or they have adjusted their strategic plans after the pandemic took place. Obviously, the digital part has been accelerated, but also the connectivity. I can give an example from Belgium. A Belgian operator has decided after the pandemic to stop, to cut the dividend from the shareholders in order to accelerate the deployment of the FTTX network, and that shows a lot of their need not only to place the right networks and offer them to their customers, but more on their strategic plans to monetize this. So number one will be for sure to find ways to monetize the 4G and 5G investment. And number two will be to find the right partnerships, because obviously you cannot do everything on your own. So just to respond this in one sentence, I believe that the digital economy is going to thrive based on strategic partnerships, collaboration, co-creation, and I strongly believe that the marketplace-based platforms would be the catalyst for that.
Sure. So here's next question from Mr. Shankar. So what competitive advantage telcos have over hyperscale or web scale companies? Can you just put it right?
Now, I was just
Yeah.
saying that thank you. But this is a question I was kind of expecting, because of the fact that in the industry that we operate in, we know that some of the hyperscale web scale companies have started expanding and then putting their feet inside as well. There's some acquisitions have happened in that space. The reason why I believe telcos have a huge chance is because of the relationship, the trust, the access, the market reach that they have. They already have been working with the partners. They have been the most trusted vendor in most of the markets. They have relationships with the government, with the industry bodies. But more than that, I would say that the people, the enterprise customers, will have to go to telcos in any case for the connectivity, more or less. Now, by capitalizing on providing other products which are going to be very, very relevant to the enterprises, bundled with their connectivity, seamlessly working for the enterprise consumers, they actually have a competitive advantage at this point of time. Having said that, I would also say that they need to start setting up that platform. They need to start setting up the marketplace kind of a platform, because it's more important than ever to become that single source of software and services for the enterprise consumers.
Sure. So here is the next question for Mr. Kulkarni. What are the benefits, I mean, marketplace benefits would bring in 5G monetization?
It's a question that connects back to the webinar that I had a couple of days back because it was on 5G and the monetization, and we just spoke about the whole enterprise and marketplace. So see, if I look at between the connection of 5G monetization and enterprise, I believe that is the question. So it's a very mutual, or let's say a symbiotic relationship. The 5G is going to be primarily successful riding on the enterprises. Okay, and enterprise is going to be successful because, I mean, enterprise marketplace offering is going to be successful because of what 5G is promising. It's important to understand, how 5G is a bit different than its predecessor. 5G is primarily based on standards, and these standards were based rather than on technology, on use cases. So first time ever the standards were made to help the use cases instead of vice versa. Generally what happens is there is a technology that comes and people build use case on top of it. In this case it is completely the other way. So if you look at 5G, there are three tenants, right? 5G is based on having this enhanced mobile broadband, or ultra reliable low latency network, or you can say massive machine to machine connectivity. Now, let's say most of the consumers will be primarily focused on, let's say, the mobile broadband, but the ultra low latency, ultra reliability, and massive machine to machine are primarily for enterprises. They are made so that the IoTs and IIoTs that we are talking about, IIoT standards, by the way, was just released this month by the 3GPP. So there are a lot of things that 5G is doing around the enterprise. Now, think about a big enterprise, right? They are getting into having their own private 5G, where they are saying that, there will be certain connectivity for their own areas. Let's say the example of the bigger Starlight, where we have mines in remote villages. How do we ensure that there is all connectivity? Now, this is powered by 5G. We can speak about the entire things when we are talking about 5G, that there are layers, right? There is a network layer which is disaggregated with the software above. This whole thing is powered by the way the 5G is designed. Now, this will be again through marketplace can be monetized. We speak about the whole network slicing. So, we spoke about marketplace and we said about X as a service or anything as a service. I'm sure we are already in this part where we are designing to deploy. In fact, in Starlight, we have already worked out a solution where we are deploying network slice as a service. Now, this can be only coupled when you have a 5G as a base. So, to your question, I think they are made for each other. They are having a lot of symbiotic relation, and one will power the other. I hope I
Sure.
answered the question. Yeah.
Shantanu,
Sure.
if I may add, I think, I mean, just sharing my 2 cents here. If you look at the commercial rollouts which have happened so far, for telcos have done around, a lot of it has been around EMBB, right? And if you also look at the pattern, what is very obvious is it's becoming more of a, I would say, a differentiation strategy as opposed to pricing. So the plans towards the retail consumers are becoming available at the same prices in most of the markets, give or take, at which it was available at 4G. Whereas if you look at the 5G cost just from a radio access side, it's huge, it's tremendous. And working with the customers, what we have found many times, partners and analysts, is it's because I think the monetization aspect has been kind of messed in a way, and I think it is more than critical. So now that retail, if I could say, has left the station, enterprise is where the money is, and enterprise is where the 5G is going to become very, very critical. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Sure. So here is the next question, which is, what is the commercial model for your marketplace, and which all markets you are available in?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you can answer.
I can take some part. Tilemaus, you want to say which markets we are available in?
Sure. So when it comes to markets, we are available in Euro, Middle East, Africa, obviously India, Southeast Asia, as well as US. So we're truly global. We're expanding in US as we speak. We have solid teams in Europe and Middle East and Africa right now, and we have been, we have a long history in Southeast Asia, in India, of course. When it comes to the models and the metrics, maybe Shantanu, you can also add them.
Right, right. So we have specifically carved out different business models, right from a minimal pressure on capex, spreading it to different opex, based on the entire stack what we are offering and the connectivity to the remaining ecosystem. So there are different models that we are have actually designed. We have been talking to some really big tier one customers across the world, and we have got validations on those models as well. So again, it's let me put it in a simple that it is low capex, more opex driven business models that we are pushing out. If that
Sure.
was the question, yeah.
Yes.
Sure. So we have next questions. How is the platform model different from service aggregator model?
Awesome question. I think probably I would need another webinar to do that. But quickly,
You
I
have
mean, just
only 1 minute.
I know, and I would have loved to get some more questions from the audience, by the way. But please send those questions to the host, and we'll absolutely give those answers as well. Quickly on the platform versus aggregator, I think the first fundamental difference is really the digital mess which is getting created. We're talking about aggregator. You're bundling the products in together and selling to our customer, whether enterprise customer or retail customer. That's an aggregator model. When you go into a platform model, now your partner products and your platform, they are consuming APIs. They are looking at the digital identity from the platform. They are looking at the customer information, which allows them to monetize or give a right experience. So the first and the foremost is the digital mess that gets created in a platform. But the second, I would say more from a business angle perspective, is also about how the channels get managed, how the customer engagement happens, how the customer data federation happens between a platform versus a aggregator model. Absolutely, probably we will run a webinar on this one. But it's a very, I understand it's a fairly complex topic, but it's also very, very relevant in the context of the discussion. So would love to answer directly to the person who's asking as well. Yeah.
So one more question, if we may ask. So just I'll say one more question. How can a marketplace solution help telcos break into IoT and AI space?
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ravi, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say one. I think IoT is actually a platform play. I mean, if it's not a platform play, then IoT is already, in my opinion, a failed case. So because that's where your device partners are coming into play. The end enterprise customers are coming into play. So it's a multi-sided model, no matter what. And analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning becomes much and more and more critical because the data, there's a massive data moving in, but the monetizable data you want to filter out, and that's where the AI and ML can come into play as well. But Shantanu, back to you.
A quick addition, if I speak from AI perspective, there are two parts to the AI. One is if there is a vendor who is providing AI as a service, that can actually be listed as something that the telco can provide to its different customers. So let's say there is a company who specializes in processing, massaging, storing the data and creating insights and dashboards. There will be, I would say, multiple enterprises who would like to take that service, and the telco can actually foster that kind of relation, right? This is one. Second is any place today where there are buyers and there are sellers, there is an inherent need of AI to understand which is the best moving offer, which kind of combinations people would take, what is the likelihood of a certain offer to be successful in a certain segment versus something else. So there is a lot of data AI that can be done in any place which is where there are sellers and buyers. This is what I would say from the AI perspective.
So now we have come to an end. Thank you, panelists, to become a part of this insightful session discussing enterprise market challenges and providing recommendations which will definitely use for enterprise vendors and overall industry. Thank you once again.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Montague. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
all the
Thanks.
audience.